Caleb Calhoun here, back with Off the Hook Sports. We have college football playoff executive director, Bill Hancock, who is entering his final year with the event. Thanks for coming, Bill. How's it going?
Caleb, thanks for having me on. How's it going for you?
Oh, great. Nashville, the hustle and bustle. I'm actually from Memphis, and when I was younger, Memphis was the bigger city. And so it's shocking how big Nashville's gotten now.
Nashville's booming. My goodness.
It is. So talk about this being your last year running this college as the executive director of this college football playoff, what that means for you and what it's built and become.
Well, I have 18 more months to go, and I decided when my contract runs out in February of 2025 that I just have some more things I want to do in life. I want to travel. I want to do some writing. I told a reporter earlier I want to learn Photoshop. So that's you have to dream, and that's it's time for me to realize some of my dreams.
Could you talk about what this thing has grown into? Because I know it was very experimental when it started in 2014, and now it's going to 12 teams next year. Just talk about the growth and how you think this has changed the landscape of college football overall.
Well, we knew back when we started that this was going to be successful. I think it's probably exceeded our expectations. It's a phenomenally popular event, great attendance, great viewership on television. And I think it's been really good for college football. I will say this, we wouldn't have a CFP today if we hadn't had the BCS before. The BCS was here for 16 years, and it really set the table for us to move on into the CFP.
Yes, and I've argued, I want to know what your thoughts on this. People always like to complain about the BCS, but I thought largely it worked.
It worked. For the first time, the BCS gave us number 1 and 2 meeting each other in a bowl game. And if you know your history, you know before that would only happen if 1 and 2 were from the Big Ten and Pac-12, or maybe one of them was independent. And the BCS guaranteed that we would have number 1 and 2. So yeah, it worked. And like I say, we wouldn't have CFP if we hadn't had the BCS.
We talk about, so obviously after this year, you won't have to deal with the headache of a 12-team playoff. And how big of a deal is this? How exciting do you think it's going to be that, finally college football is going to have December games? They're going to be the conference championship, and then there's going to be December football that everybody's going to love in college.
Yeah, it's exciting. And I'm in my last 18 months on the job, I'll be working a lot on setting up how the 12-team event's going to operate operationally. There's a lot of operational details that has to happen. Joe Fan really doesn't worry about that. What Joe Fan worries about is what is the bracket going to look like, and where's our team going to be. And it's all very, very exciting.
Do you guys have plans to advertise a bracket like the NCAA tournament bracket?
You bet, absolutely.
Figured you would. What do you say to people who may be a little concerned that they don't, the thing that people cherish about college football is how every Saturday matters. And they have the worry that, maybe those really big games in the regular season won't have the same magnitude with the 12-team playoff. What do you say to those fans?
Yeah, I say they will matter. Selection process will be the same as now, with the committee making decisions based on your strength of schedule, based on how you did during the season. And so those games absolutely will matter. The difference will be more teams will go into November with a chance to make the playoff than now. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, and so the argument from your end is it actually makes more meaningful games because there's going to be more teams with meaningful games to play in November.
Yes. And just think about the conference championship games, how meaningful those will be. Because remember, 6 of the teams will be the best 6 conference champions. So the tournament will start with conference championship weekend.
Where does this go, do you think, long-term, given the fact that the conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten are absorbing so many teams, and the Big 12 and Pac-12 are jockeying to be the next one? Do you think at some point it'll have to reduce the number of automatic conference champions if these conferences keep getting bigger?
Well, we don't have automatic conference champions.
I mean, top 6 conference champions.
It's the top 6. There's not been any talk about changing that. I'd be surprised if that were to change. 6 is a good number.
With conferences getting big, I'm sure and I know this is something you don't have to worry about at all. you don't have to worry about it even now, but the SEC going to 16 teams, the Big Ten going, and then they have these divisions that they're getting rid of. Do you think eventually the conferences, to crown their champions themselves, are going to have to adopt some of the CFP model with strength of schedule and things like that in the future?
Every conference will decide how to choose its champion. I feel like it's right to do away with divisions. I think that will help the conference to ensure that their best team or one of their two best teams gets into the CFP. So I think they're doing the right thing there. They all have different tiebreakers, as you know, and they're doing what's best for the conference.
And last thing I want to bring up, doesn't it feel to a certain degree that expanding the playoff is a bit of a almost throwback to tradition, because now all the major bowls matter, whereas they don't have to feel like consolations, right? If it goes forward like this.
Well, for sure, in the first 2 years when the 6 bowls will be hosting the quarterfinals and semifinals, those games are going to matter more than ever before. We don't know what will happen starting in 2026. We don't know whether the games will be in the bowls or not. I hope they will, but there's a lot of sentiment to maybe leave them on campus, put those games on campus also. But for sure, in the first 2 years of the 12-team event, the bowl games are going to be extremely meaningful.
Congratulations on everything that this has become, and pending retirement 18 months from now, and well deserved. Thanks a lot for doing this.
And when I learn Photoshop, I'll come teach you how to do it.
Oh, I appreciate that. I struggle with that every day. With Bill Hancock, Executive Director of the College Football Playoff, this has been Caleb Calhoun with Off the Hook Sports.